So as we've talked about in the last two sessions, we're going to go over Google Analytics, and this is basically just a continuation on like what we've learned in the last two sessions. If you take away anything from tonight, is probably the most important part, is that metrics always need to be looked at within context of the environment. We're going to do just two quick case studies on two different, very, very common client problems. Okay, so the two different problems we're focusing on is issues driving traffic from social media channels and just kind of troubleshooting why we might be having these issues. And again, taking those very obvious clues and looking at it. And high bounce rates on a website's homepage and just being like, okay, why are people coming to our homepage and then immediately piecing out? So as we can see, social is making up about 20% of the traffic that's coming to this specific website, which isn't bad, but that's just talking about all social media channels combined together. Did they actually create like call to actions in the different posts? So are they keeping their website in the top of mind of the users? So with it being tucked away in the about section, it's not really being anything that, it's not anything that's top of mind for the users. We're not like, oh, I'm gonna look at their website because like their Facebook pops up. However, if you're consistently posting and you're putting a link like in the call to action of like, hey, check out our website, or hey, go to our website to do this, you're actively prompting them to do that action that you're expecting them to do. One of those like things that you need to ask yourself, are you providing the user the information that they need to actually perform what you need them to perform? Data analysis takes a while. It's going to take time and it's going to take subsequently money. So the best thing to do is you need to ask yourself, is this the issue that we're supposed to be solving right now? You know, if we can't solve it with those like quick little one-off things, like, is this actually what the client is worried about? Because for instance, there might be a bigger issue within this website's ability to make conversions, and that's affecting the bottom line a lot more than their ability to drive traffic from Facebook. So you need to be looking at the actual like clients and organizations' goals and be like, okay, what are the problems that are going to be actually affecting like their bottom line? Because when you look at data, you can actually identify thousands of problems you could possibly be fixing. And you're going to probably fix those, at least do your best. However, if those aren't the issues that is going to affect like the revenue flow, then like, are those really the issues that we should be emphasizing? So the shared URLs are valuable for two very, very reasons. The first one is they're being shared, which means that you have one user who's engaging with your content enough that they're sharing it on their own personal accounts and it's catching the attention of another user. So we need to be paying attention to this metric very specifically. By looking at just this, so these are the top like shared URLs. So these URLs are the ones that led the most amount of traffic back to the website that were shared by another user. Does that make sense to everyone? I know it's like, there's a couple different hands going here. But yeah, so one user shared a post with a link, another user clicked on it, and these are the links that most successfully got people back to the website. As we can see, here are shared URLs. So there's a couple of different things that you can look at. I'm gonna look very specifically at what kind of products, like what kind of posts about products are leading the most back to our website, because then we know, okay, people on this social media channel care more about these types of products, and then as well as brands. So you can do this by looking at secondary dimensions. And this is really what's going to provide you some of the deepest analysis possible. So you guys can look at like, oh, here's the shared URLs, or here are the networks. But really, like some of the best analysis you're gonna get is by looking at, again, comparing it with other metrics and looking at that secondary dimension. And this is a tool I would definitely recommend you get comfortable with using. So I'm gonna type in product categories by content group. And this shows you, and like what Google did is they went ahead and tagged everything. So as you can see here again are the top URLs that led traffic back to this website. And if you look at it just by the product category, it's pretty overwhelmingly obvious that the URLs about apparel are the ones that are most successful in leading people back to the website. So posts about apparel is what's driving people back. Yeah, we have one about drinkware, and maybe that's something like we need to keep our eye on, but like bags is down here. But as we can see, overwhelmingly, it's posts about like the different apparel that are offered through by that store. Bounce rate can depend on the nature of the website. So we're talking about how e-commerce and publication sites, they are the same in that you don't want to have a high bounce rate because publication sites do rely a lot on advertising, and advertisers are going to ask that question. E-commerce sites, obviously you want people to like go through your site and navigate it and like buy things, and if they're like getting there and piecing out, then they don't really have an opportunity to buy anything. But for things that are like more purely content sites, like blog sites, if people are coming and looking at it and they're leaving, that's okay. It's okay to have a bounce rate at that time. So there are so many different things that can possibly affect your bounce rate, and it is one of the most popular metrics that it like is constantly being looked at. So that's actually why we're focusing on it tonight. But the biggest thing that I want you guys to do is realize there are a lot of things that directly and indirectly affect this. So for example, how long the page loads affects how soon someone decides whether or not they're going to hit the back button and go to the next link on their search results. Who's done that? Because I do it all the time. I am so impatient. Right, most of us here have done that. So, but page load time is affected by network speed and device. So we need to be thinking of like, oh, there are other factors that are going to influence page load time, which is going to influence bounce rate. So we kind of need to be thinking backwards as far as like what's going to be affecting what. But before I get into how to look, like how to improve your bounce rate and everything, there's a very, very valuable lesson to be learned here. We need to know our users. Thank you, Jordan, for laughing at me. That's what I'm here for. We need to know our users. So like I just mentioned, the mobile device or the device that they're working on is going to influence page load time. So it would be really, really helpful to know which devices that they're using to get to our website. So looking at the homepage bounce rate by channel can give us just a lot of clues as to like what the issue is. So for instance, I want to point out the bounce rate on the homepage. The highest one is coming from the bottom one, our display ads. So we know that 88% of the traffic coming from display ads are leaving without doing anything on our site. So it's like, well, maybe we need to be looking at our display ads. You know, what are we putting in our display ads? Is it misleading advertising where they click on the display ad and they get to our site and they're like, that's not what I wanted at all. That's not what I was expecting. And making sure like we're meeting that user expectation. My first thought is, okay, their call to action, what they want me to do is to look at their swimwear, right? Because that's what's being featured. And if I like actually come on here and click on it, it just takes me to their website. It doesn't take me to their swimwear. If I'm, especially on my mobile device, I'm gonna be like, oh, well, I thought I was going to be looking at like that particular product. And then I'm either angry, confused, or just like whatever, and I'm going to leave because I don't have time to go through the process of like, now I have to go like find swimwear, blah, blah, blah. And I know that seems like an easy process, but when you have a user that you're trying to attract, you want to cut out as many steps as possible. What we're going to look at is how we can use our search queries to understand where the user is in the purchasing funnel. So we look at the search queries, 100% bounce rate for YouTube merchandise. So 100% of the people who typed into like Google YouTube merchandise left without doing anything on the site. So now we know, okay, this is what they were looking for. They were looking very specifically for this. Number one, they're not aware to buy YouTube merchandise, so that's an awareness issue, like with your actual marketing campaign. If you look at Google T-shirts, again, like these people don't know where they can possibly purchase a Google T-shirt because they don't know that the Google merchandise store exists. So we know that they're stuck in that awareness of the purchasing decision funnel. Prioritize your problems. Figure out which ones are going to be affecting the bottom line the most. Using the social media example, getting traffic from your Facebook page to your homepage is important, but if there's like a bigger issue of like we're not converting the people who are actually coming to our webpage, then you need to focus on that issue because that's the one that's going to be affecting like your revenue flow. Data isn't going to tell you the whole story. It's really useful, yes, but we need to also be thinking about the external environment and what else is going on. So for instance, with Facebook's algorithm change, we need to be thinking about those types of things. Like, oh, if Facebook changed their algorithm, so now our brand isn't going to be like as prominent in the post, that's probably going to decrease the amount of traffic we're getting from Facebook. And just be thinking about things that are going on in the external environment.